I'm done trying to live up to others' expectations. Family, society, class, race, sex, or religions. It's time to break free from the isms that make us feel like we're in prison. I'm ready to be unleashed as fuck. I'm ready to be unleashed as fuck. Tired of the madness, done with the sadness. Gonna break free and be unleashed.
Hey, leash breakers, silence isn't neutral. It's transactional. And most women, we have been paying the price for this for generations, staying silent because we've been trained to, because we're expected to, or even demanded, while our power, our presence, and our peace is compromised.
That's right. This week, we're talking about how silence gets rewarded until it doesn't. In relationships, in the workplace, in our society, we're pulling apart the lie that being quiet keeps you safe and exposing what it's really costing you.
And you're listening to Unleashed AF, the podcast that rips off the mask, exposes the leashes holding you back, and challenges you to lead authentically and powerfully. I'm Deidre Beecham, visibility catalyst and creator of the Medusa Effect. My past taught me how to disappear. Unlearning that made one thing clear. I exist to end the epidemic of female erasure. So now I help women take back what the world told them to hide and say what exactly, or actually, needs to be said. It needs to be said and to be safe in our own bodies.
That's right. And I'm Jenny Badig, certified hypnotherapist, coach, human factors engineer, and liberator of your subconscious superpowers. I help people understand and unleash what's already inside them so that they can stop sabotaging and start soaring. And I don't have the energy to sing this week, but we are together, leash breakers, risk takers, dream makers. Don't you mess around with us. So if you love what we're about, hit follow, subscribe, like all those things, and drop your thoughts in the comments or at unleashedafpodcast.com. on the WWJDD page, which is What Would Jenny and Deidre Do? We're here to expose the leashes, explore what it really means to be free, and to help you step into your fully authentic and unleashed life.
Awesome. So it's every time that you bite your tongue, I bite my tongue. Every time.
Metaphorically, not physically. Because man, that hurts like a motherfucker.
Yeah, let's not actually bite our tongues. No. Or every time you don't post what you're really thinking, you kind of hold back and say, well, I can't really say that. Every time you let something slide in order to keep the peace, whether it's in family, business, etc., you always pay a price. And so we're going to talk about some of those things here: the hidden cost of silence, why women feel exhausted, how silence serves systems, and what changes when you start speaking up. So where do you want to start, Jenny?
Well, when we're talking about paying a price, it seems to imply financially, right? Mm-hmm. Now, not all of the price that you're paying is financial, but there are some. We'll just start with the things that are financially involved in staying silent about some of these inequities and injustices. So when you think about the wage gap between men and women in the workforce, when you don't speak up and try to negotiate a better salary as a woman, you're silent about that because you know that people say, oh, she's being too demanding, or, oh, she's supposed to be just nice and do her. She's lucky to have a job, that kind of thing. You're kind of enabling the system to continue the way it's been going. So that's obviously a financial cost to you because you could be making more money. Also things like missing out on promotions. When there are men in the workplace that are either taking credit for things that you have done or not giving you credit for things that you've done, that can rob you of an opportunity of promotion and a raise and things like that. So that's a literal financial cost as well. Even things like the types of work women do that they're just sort of expected to do for free because they're the women, like taking care of children, for example. That's something people pay hundreds of dollars a week, probably thousands of dollars a week in some cases for childcare. Yet, if it's a stay-home mom, she doesn't get paid dip.
Yes, it's interesting you're talking about this because we've been watching The Gilded Age. Have you watched any of that?
No,
It's on Max and
that's why I don't have Max.
or HBO Max, whatever it's called.
Mhm.
But The Gilded Age, wow, it's been really fascinating. It's set in the late 1800s and several years after the Civil War, but people that are from there, have been previously slaves. And
Mhm.
it's really fascinating all of the things that women were not expected to receive money. And there was this one place, and this is all high society, almost the entire thing is about high society. And there's this one place where one of the women that's part of society, she wants to go teach, and she's being ostracized by her aunts for going and teaching. And then she decides that she's going to do something else and teach something else. And she comes home and she says, "Don't worry, aunt, I'm not being paid," because it was supposedly actually a ding against her if she was going to
Mhm.
be paid for this, when she should really just be contributing charitably. That
Mhm.
is her role in society, is to be charitable. And so it's interesting to me that, we talk a lot about how, sometimes things can be passed down in our DNA. And I think this is definitely a possibility of being handed down in our DNA as well, where women feel like, I shouldn't be paid for this, or deep down, deep,
Mhm.
like this thing that stops you
Yeah.
from getting paid.
Yeah.
But very, very interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it could certainly be DNA, it could certainly be generational, just ideals. But it's also societal. I
Hmm.
mean, there's certainly more people today that are aware of how much it costs for childcare and stuff like that. But it doesn't seem to change. Like, there's no mom saying, "Okay, this is how much you're going to pay me, husband slash father of these children that I'm raising, per week to take care of these children." You know what I mean? So,
Hmm.
not that the husband is probably paying for the house. He's paying for things that all of them get to, I guess, enjoy or take advantage of. But there's just not a clear definition of the worth of the work that they're doing. So it becomes devalued.
Hmm.
And, um, another aspect of the financial side of things and how staying silent about it ends up costing us is the pink tax,
Oh
which
yeah.
is how so many things, services that are basically the same for women and men, are priced differently. And it's always the women's is more expensive than the men's. Even something as simple as a razor.
Oh my gosh, that's exactly what I was thinking,
Yep.
was razor blades.
Yep. Razors, a lot of body products like, shampoo and body wash and all these different things, always more expensive for the women's brands than the men's brands. Haircuts can be up to $30 more for a woman than for a man, even though a man may have long hair. Like, if it was just a buzz cut for a man, I can kind of understand, like, you're done.
Right.
But it's not when it's just a buzz cut. It's like, oh, you're a man, you only have to pay this much. We will still feather your hair. We will still layer your hair. We will still do all these things to long hair, but you're a man. So it only costs, $20.
Wow.
There's just so much. And I remember years and years ago hearing that when you take a man's shirt to the dry cleaners, it was like a buck or some ridiculous small amount. You take a women's blouse to the dry cleaners, like $10 or something. I mean, I can't remember exactly what the difference was, but that wasn't ironing or anything. It's the same dry cleaning process, yet it was significantly more expensive for women than it was for men.
And what's interesting is that these systems are in place. There's all of these systems in place that were never designed for women to be powerful within them.
Right.
Right. And I spent a little time. I wonder if I do. And you probably can't see this. I actually made a chart.
Ooh.
I made a chart with the main systems that are at the top, which are kind of like the root systems. So, patriarchy and white supremacy are kind of like the root systems. It's pretty much, if you look at any of the systems that are in existence, you have religion, capitalism, politics, education, marriage, healthcare, media, all of those can be traced back to having their rules and regulations stemming from upholding patriarchy and white supremacy. And that's absolutely insane that all of our systems are based on this. And neither one of those uplifts women. In fact, women are complicit in keeping those things in place, sometimes by not being silent. But the rest of us who don't want those systems to be in place, our voices are needed and necessary.
Yep.
Another one of the things that I was thinking of is marketing. Right. I've been in marketing for years, a couple of decades. And when I first got into marketing, I wouldn't have thought of it then, but now I do. Looking at it, marketing was so very male centric, right? It's all very dominant, fake it till you make it, grind it out, which, it's all about manipulation and push, which is very much not the feminine way of doing things.
Right.
But especially back then, if you did things in a feminine way, you were ostracized or ridiculed, which happens quite frequently. Women are ridiculed for trying to go outside of a system. And then there's all these tools of enforcement. Religion is a tool of enforcement and enforces the things that keep patriarchy in place, keeps white supremacy in place. Capitalism does the same thing. Politics and policies. Even our education. Well, our education is more about conditioning us. But I remember when we started really learning, with the advent of social media, especially TikTok, we started really learning a lot about how our education system has failed us as a society. There's a great video by Prince EA, who's a YouTube guy he's been around for years, but he did a great video about the education system. And it was I think it was set like in a court where it was like, I don't know if he was saying the USA or the citizens versus the education system or something like that. But he pointed out all the kind of failings of the education system. Not that it was originally a failure, but he said it was originally designed to get people ready to work in like factories. Sure.
It's not what most people work in these days, and it's not adjusted.
No. And it makes sense if you think about it. It's all about, sit still, do what you're told.
Till the bell
when
rings.
You hear the bell, you go to the next class. It's all about automating people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, if you haven't watched it, go look up Prince EA education system or something on YouTube, and it's pretty cool. It's probably, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes long or something like that. He has some really good videos, but that's my favorite. Because really that I think is part of what the patriarchy has used to sort of justify trying to keep women like out of the workforce and stuff like that, is, they don't have the same education, because they weren't allowed to have the same education for so long.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
And I think it was partially they thought, well, no, women, are the nurturers. They're going to stay home and take care of the kids. Why would they need an education? That comes naturally, the maternal instinct, whatever. I think that was like probably part of the thinking. but it's not. It's a way too overgeneralized because there's
Yeah.
plenty of people now that never have kids, never intend to have kids. So why could they not go to school? Like, and I also think, and we may even brought it up on the pod at some point. I think there were statistics more recently that there have been more women attending colleges
Oh yeah.
than men,
Yeah.
right?
It has flipped. There used to be more men in college and now there are more women. And it's interesting that as a result, the prestige of a higher education is starting to slip. And I find it fascinating because I have to believe that the reason it's slipping is because men the the main people getting degrees anymore, that it's
Mm,
women. And so if women are getting them and it's not men, well, then it's just not as important.
yeah, anybody could do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that
God.
kind of leads into another category of how being silent can affect us, and that's politically,
Mm,
right? So when we don't have as much representation, although that is starting to improve in terms of more women
yes.
in government, um, so if you're not represented as well, your voice isn't heard in these meetings and in these discussions and these lawmaking kind of situations. And then you've got a bunch of men creating laws about and for women that they don't even understand. And the same kind of thing happens with the medical field, right?
Mhm.
So many doctors, particularly male doctors, have very little understanding of the female in terms of like hormones, the reproductive system, all that kind of thing, because women's issues get misdiagnosed so often because they just don't understand and that's not a large part of their training, of their education.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? I was reading somewhere about how there are certain, like the uterus, we didn't know in textbooks, right? We didn't know the true shape of our uterus because the only picture that we've ever seen until recently of the uterus is one that has been cut up and laid out on a table. Our uterus doesn't look like that. Our
Mm,
uterus is very different. And yet we weren't told. There's so little told about your menstrual cycle. There's so many things that we don't know because they weren't studied.
perimenopause.
Yeah. And then you have the bias, especially with doctors that were trained a lot longer ago. Do you like that?
Yeah.
Old doctors, right? Who still have this supposition that women don't know what they're talking about, they don't know their bodies, and, you know, they're hysterical, or they just have anxiety, or it's all in their head.
Mm-hmm.
One of the worst things I ever had happen to me, this gets into a little bit about what Myra was saying. She had sent a chat once before about
Mansplaining.
medical mansplaining.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the worst mansplaining situations I was ever in was I went to the doctor because I was bleeding, and I had blood coming out of my anus. And I'm thinking, this is not good, right? This is this is not good. I need to get this checked out. And I went to the doctor, as you should. I went to the doctor and was explaining it to him being the operative word. And then he comes back to me and says that I'm probably just confused about where the blood's coming from. Really? Now, unfortunately, I was very young. I was a teenager. And I was definitely a nice girl. And I just sat there and I just took it, knowing that he was wrong. I knew exactly where it came from. And I had actually brought fecal matter with the blood on it. Like, what? Yeah,
God.
and I didn't do anything about it. But, but women are, and especially at that age, I mean, I didn't have anybody with me. There was nobody there to represent me and to fight for
Mm-hmm.
me. And so I felt very intimidated by this doctor who was telling me
Yeah.
this is it. And I'm like, no, I'm sure. And he's like, well, probably not. And at the time, now I'd do something very, very different now. I'd say I would say something very different, and I'd be
Mm.
much more demanding, and I wouldn't be so silent. But women are, especially women that are our age, we grew up with these things, and now it's a matter of combating that and
Yeah.
fighting that. And it's so encouraging to me seeing this new generation of women being raised to be people.
Yeah.
There are women that are being raised to be people rather than being raised to be women.
Mm.
And I love that. And I mean the traditional, what women are supposed to be like:
Mm-hmm.
quiet, demure,
Right.
subservient, serving. Um, and not that serving is a bad thing, but when serving is expected and at the expense of your autonomy, that's a problem.
Right. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, even in terms of research that's done medically, I
Mm.
heard just something the other day that mentioned, or this morning I was listening to something that said only like 8% of the NIH research funds are used to study women's health.
We're half society. We're half of society.
Exactly.
What in the world? That's crazy. And you wonder, it's a wonder. And if you're walking around as a woman, you're wondering why you're so tired. Well, here's one of the reasons. Here's one of the reasons you're so
Yeah.
tired.
Yeah. I mean, even when you look at cancer, breast cancer is probably one of the biggest moneymaker medical things in our country. Prostate cancer is significant, like it happens,
Mm-hmm.
but it seems like they've spent more time figuring out how to handle that without making it a huge ordeal versus how many people you hear about going through rounds of chemo and rounds of radiation and all the stuff, having to get mastectomies and all this other stuff. It's just a different priority. And
Yeah.
again, you have to pay a lot more. Like, my God, unbelievable how much someone has to pay, even with good insurance, how much it costs to go through a full treatment for breast cancer. And then if it comes back, it's like, starting the whole ball over again. You hit your lifetime limit on your insurance. Like, it's just ridiculous. But that's definitely something that affects women's health. Not that there's not men that get breast cancer, but it's a pretty small percentage. Much more. And even when you think about the mortality rate, this goes into race as well, not just being female, but the mortality rate for post childbirth for Black women is significantly higher
Oh, yeah.
than for white women. And there's no reason for that, like no legitimate reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Right here. Upholding white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's priorities. It's ridiculous.
And what's crazy is, you think, well, the solution must be we need to speak up. That's what we need to do. We need to speak up. And yes, we do need to speak up. We do need to stand up for our rights. We do need to stand up for the rights of others. Here's the thing that happens when you do speak up, however. And we need to be prepared for that. If you're getting ready to step into a place of speaking up in a place where you haven't spoken up before. If you're speaking up in a place you haven't spoken up before, 9 times out of 10, it may even be 99 times out of 100, you're going to get insane pushback because people aren't used to you speaking up for yourself. So there can be attacks, there can be demoralization. I mean, you have to be really firm about who you are,
Yep.
what you want to say, and what you believe because of that pushback. But if we can keep going against that pushback, at some point, enough people, because the beautiful thing is it's kind of like a ripple effect. Like if I speak up about something and I say something online, there's another woman, at least one, that's going to see that, and it's going to have a ripple effect for them. It's like, oh, okay, well, I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
So and so's doing it. And so then they can do it. So every single person that doesn't keep their silence, every single woman that doesn't keep their silence and comes forward and says something about whatever it is that you've previously been silent about, it gives, not only helps you, but it helps another woman.
Yep.
There's another woman out there watching you that goes, oh, wow, that's incredible. And now maybe I can do that. And so you get this groundswell of people moving forward. The hard part is the first time.
Yeah.
The hard part is the first time, maybe even the second time. It feels so firm in your body about who you are and what you're trying to say and who you are trying to be and the difference that you're trying to make in this world.
Yep.
And until then, though, it can be absolutely exhausting and demoralizing. But I want to encourage you to keep it up because it does get better. And there are women out there that will support you and be behind you 100%.
Yep. Yeah. And there's different phases. We've talked about like the spectrum of activism before, right? So like you're talking about, it could be difficult to do it that first time, to be the first one to kind of speak up about something. Absolutely. So if that seems too daunting, if you see something like even a meme or a article or something like that that's saying something that you're like, yeah, more people need to see this, share that. Doesn't have to start with your own words.
Mm-hmm.
Share something that somebody else has put out there, or talk about it with your friends or family and stuff like that, just to keep the conversation going. You don't have to be the one that comes up with what to say from scratch, so you can ease yourself into it if that feels more comfortable. Certainly, I think a lot of people feel more comfortable posting things on social media than they would be like confronting someone in person. So that's another step on the spectrum. If there were like a local city council meeting or something like that, where you could bring something up, you might not be ready for that, but you can work your way up to it. You've talked to enough friends about it. You've shared information. You can go as a group. There's definitely power in numbers for something like this.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily always public either.
Right.
Sometimes a matter of not being silent is right inside your own home.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a husband that you have been quiet to, or your spouse, your wife. It could be a relative that you need to not be so silent about. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
there's so it doesn't have to be this public thing. And a lot of those, in my opinion, when you get into family, it's really important to understand that where your boundaries are. A lot of times when we're silent, it's because we have been taught to disregard our boundaries. We have been taught to completely ignore how we're feeling and thinking about a situation because someone else says it needs to be a different way.
Right.
So a lot of that,
the boat, or don't
yes,
step out of line, and
yeah. Why are you going to say that? Why aren't you just being supportive?
If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything
Don't say
at all.
anything at all. Right? All of those.
I will say I have a good friend who I know has been struggling lately, but I'm so proud of her because she's held to her convictions. Um, she's been sharing and posting a lot of stuff about the current administration, and I think it's mostly her husband's side of the family has been saying, and they're from Texas mostly, we're not comfortable with what she's posting. And she's like, too
Oh,
bad.
wow.
Yeah. So, like, kudos to her for continuing to stand up for what she knows to be true. It's just, and there's some people that do that, some people that don't feel comfortable. If somebody starts to question, they go, okay, I won't post as much. But I'm so proud of her, like I said, for doing that, even coming up against family, and them kind of complaining about, well, we don't really like what you're putting on social media. Well, you don't have to like it. I'm putting it up. I'm not going to
Yeah,
be quiet about it.
and chances are that if you're getting ready to post something and you think about a particular person, chances are you're dealing with some nice girl training.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're thinking of that person, then there's something in that relationship that where you are lacking boundaries.
Yep.
And just a reminder, boundaries are not for other people to watch out for. Boundaries are up to you to enforce.
It's your
And
fence.
that's right. It's your fence. You have to keep it up. You have to maintain it. And it's not anybody else's responsibility. If they cross over your fence, then there need to be repercussions for crossing over the fence.
You let loose
Some,
the dogs.
sometimes you got to let loose the dogs. Sometimes you just need a bigger fence. Sometimes you just need to move away from that neighbor.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yep.
there are drastic things, but sometimes we have to, because again, it's not for someone else to enforce. That's your enforcement. So if I tell you, hey, I'd really prefer that you not come over to the house before 10 o'clock and you show up at 9:30 and I let you in the house, then where's the boundary?
Yep.
There is no boundary. It's just something you said.
And the cost of that for you in the future is that they will continue to come over before 10 a.m. because they know they can get away with it.
Right.
So
And in
that's
the meantime,
another example of the cost of being silent about it.
yeah, and then what happens inside of you, right? For not enforcing your boundary, you get a personal lack of respect, frustration, maybe being upset with this other person when really what's really going on is you need to be upset with yourself because you're not
Yep.
standing up for yourself.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And that's part of the stuff that can seem like it's hitting you out of nowhere or can add up and you're not sure like where it's coming from, right? It can get you frustrated and feeling exhausted. It can get you resentful. It can get you all the things that people start to say, oh, she's just hysterical. Well, because she's had it up to here and she's kept her mouth shut the whole time. So, things like trying to regulate your emotions when not requiring others around you to regulate their own emotions, or even trying to help regulate others' emotions without considering your own emotions. That's exhausting. Even things like mental load, like when you're trying to organize everything and make sure things flow correctly. And that may be part of why you've established boundaries. And then people kind of shit all over them anyway. And you're like, nah, but I don't want to cause a fuss because everything's supposed to go well. There's just so many things that based on sort of the expectations of women to be great multitaskers and to have all their shit together and take care of everybody's needs emotionally and stuff like that without necessarily having time to themselves or to go kind of dump all the stuff that's been like bottled up. I mean, I used to think it was kind of a frou-frou thing to have like a spa day or something, where like a group of girls or women would just go and hang out at a spa day. But that was because I was a single person. I didn't have all that extra load that I was carrying. All I had to do was take care of myself. And I was working, a solid job and stuff like that. So I didn't have a lot of additional mental load like that I was dealing with, or emotional load, really, because it was just me and my dog. But I get it a lot more now that those things are completely justifiable. You need some time away. You need to just have time to take a bath by yourself, have some candles, some music, whatever it is that works for you. You need to have that time to recharge and replenish your energy, because there's so much demanded, especially of women who are like wives and mothers. And so there's so many people depending on you to have your shit together and to take care of so many details. It's exhausting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how this can show up, being silent, how this can show up in your business as well is, and I know this has been me in the past, is, let's say that, you've decided, I'm going to do some video. And so you pull up the camera and you shoot the video, and then you erase it and you start again, and you erase it and you start again, right? Or you stare at the go live button. You have something to say, you have something really important to get out, but then fear grips you.
Yeah.
And it may not be intelligible at the moment. It's just this fear that grips you. But typically, maybe your chest tightens, your stomach churns, your hands may freeze, maybe you start sweating. And the things that are going through your head are, what if I get it wrong? What if I'm too much? What if I don't come across as professional? What if nobody watches it? What if I get criticized? And people in the past have said, well, that's just lack of confidence. And I just don't agree that it's a lack of confidence. I think it's conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what we're talking about, is that we have been conditioned to be this way. A lifetime of being told to be nice, to be likable, to be safe. And it's not necessarily a fear of being seen. It's a fear of being seen and rejected for who you are.
Or being imperfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because my goodness, you're supposed to be perfect, right?
Right.
So that's actually why I created Burn the Mask, was to help people with that. And starting, I was doing it every week, and it was a free service. I have done them enough now that I'm now charging for them, and they're just going to be a couple of times a month. But would love to have you join me. If you are interested, please look up burnthemask.com, or you can just go to my website, deidrebeecham.com, and go to Burn the Mask, and love to have you join me. The next one is going to be on Tuesday, August 5th.
Awesome. And I have been on a few of Deidre's online workshops before and have really enjoyed them. It seems like typically I've been in a situation where I was driving somewhere while the workshop was going on. So I wasn't able to participate as much as I wanted to because of all the road noise and stuff like that. I had myself muted, but still got a lot out of it, hearing other people share their stuff and just the fount of knowledge and experience and wisdom that you share is highly worth it.
Oh, thanks, Jenny. Thank you. Let's see. So do we have anything else we wanted to share about that? Is there any ending?
Did you get that one video? Or no? The one that I had sent?
No, I don't have it. I unfortunately didn't have a chance to.
It wasn't that critical to this week necessarily. It just kind of had a good message.
Yeah. We can upload it to Facebook this week. Yeah. You still there, or are you frozen?
No,
you're still there. Okay, making sure. Now, what you did want to make a quick note. A woman this past week really hit a big obstacle, and that was Rosie O'Donnell. So Rosie O'Donnell is being attacked by Trump again. There's been decades going on that Trump does not like Rosie. Well, Rosie stands for all the things that a woman is not supposed to be, right? She's
To Trump,
she's bold, she's brash, she says what's on her mind. She's very intelligent, thoughtful, but she stands up for herself. She has boundaries, and she's gay. So all of those things are marks against her. She's not the traditional, I'm going to be all pretty for men kind of woman. Trump does not like that at all. And just this last week, he said in I think it was a tweet, that he was thinking about, he also had it on video as well, that he was thinking about, Rosie just wasn't beneficial to America anymore. And he was ready to take away her citizenship. What? And so Rosie, instead of just taking that lying down, she comes back and she says, look, you can't just take away my citizenship. I am an American citizen. And while that may be true, it's a scary thing if he can actually get to that point, because, the Supreme Court has given him king power. So it's really important for all of us to be standing up at this time, not just for Rosie, but for each other. As Americans. We need to be standing up for each other. And so we wanted to share a challenge for you this week, our listeners, is this week we dare you to interrupt a loop, whatever kind of loop is out there, to speak up about something that you've been holding back talking about. And this could be something as simple as, talking to your spouse about something. It could be just something as simple as that. Maybe that's not so simple, depending on your spouse. But, maybe it's a truth that you've been swallowing to keep the peace. Maybe that's at work. Maybe an opinion that you've softened so that you don't get backlash from having your opinion, or the boundary that you didn't uphold and you let slide again, which again isn't a boundary if you let it slide. But just challenge you to say it, or post it, or speak it. But whatever that is, and don't sugarcoat it, don't apologize for saying it, say it. Just say it. And don't shrink. And see what happens. And I think you'll be absolutely amazed at the power that you have inside of you, and that the world isn't going to fall apart because you stood up for yourself.
That's
right. The world isn't going to fall apart because you did one of these things.
Very true.
No.
Now, there was another nationwide protest yesterday. I didn't hear quite as much about it, so I'm not sure how many people.
I didn't either. I didn't hear nearly as much.
I have seen, at least locally, that there were people that were, on corners of major intersections and stuff like that. But I haven't heard anything about like numbers or impact or whatever. Mm-hmm. But keep your eyes open for more events like that can be happening in your area. One of the best sites that we've found to keep track of those things is mobilize.us. Mm-hmm. And it also has information about how you can like volunteer with organizations. You can get specific to the type of causes you'd like to champion, things like that. The 5050.1 tends to track the larger,
the larger protests
like that. But sometimes there's even smaller ones you can get to that would be on mobilize.us. And let's see, I haven't checked lately to see where we are on generalstrikeus.com. I don't know what our percentage is there.
Yeah, so please sign up there, because that's going to give us a good idea of when we have reached the tipping point for doing a mass general strike across the United States. to try and set our government straight, because right now our government is not serving us, but only serving themselves.
Yeah. And there's still plenty of things that you can call your representatives about. If you go to 5calls.org or download the app on your phone. One of the things that's sort of a hot topic down here in Florida lately is the alligator Alcatraz situation, and how there's very limited access for people to go, not just people like press or government officials, but lawyers who represent people that are in alligator Alcatraz are being denied entry as well, denied access to their clients, which is pretty sure illegal.
And the beautiful thing about 5calls.org is that, let's say that you're like, well, what do I say? You know what? 5calls.org is going to tell you. So they have scripts if you don't know what to say, and it tells you exactly who to call, and you can pick and choose which topics you want to call about, and they'll tell you, here, these are the people you need to call in order to make this happen. And so it makes it really, really easy.
Yeah. Because that's, from everything that I've read, that's really getting to be a ridiculously inhumane situation.
Yes.
So we need to put a stop to that as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, follow, and share. If you have a topic or a question you'd like for us to answer, please go to our website, unleashedafpodcast.com. Go to WWJDD, What Would Jenny and Deidre Do? We'd love to hear from you. And until next time, you're not too much. You're not broken. The system is. The system is really broken. But you know what? You're unleashing. And we'd love to see you keep going. We'd also love to hear from you. And until next time, see ya.
I'm done trying to live up to others' expectations. Family, society, class, race, sex, or religions. It's time to break free from the isms